So the more often you do something wrong, the harder it'll be to unlearn that habit. So here's mistakes I see happen all the time. And at the end of this video, I'll share my ultimate #1 exercise for self-taught guitarists, for beginning, for everyone really. That's not only super fun to play, but it addresses almost all the issues mentioned in this video. So we can easily develop a clean and pristine technique. Let's go. Here's #1. So ask yourself, why is it so easy to spot a beginner guitarist? Well, very often the less than ideal position of the hand or the thumb on the neck is the dead giveaway. And the biggest mistake I see so often is people lay their thumb flat on the neck like this. So this is never really a good position to be in and to start out from. So I use 3 positions myself usually, and I move between them whenever I need different things. So position 1, and this should basically be the default position, is the thumb behind the neck, pointing upwards. So now your fingers are free and flexible to play anything. So I note the space between the palm of the hand and the neck, and the slight bend in the wrist. Relaxed, no tension, I'm chill. All right, and position #2 is where the thumb moves on top of the neck. So we see this often when heavy soloing. And note again, my palm is not resting against the neck. There's a little bit of room there, like this. And we can use the thumb to fret a note even. Here's position #3, and now the thumb moves down a little bit. And I use this when playing bar chords mostly, or when I need big stretches. And these positions are not fixed, you can move between them. There's hybrid position, there's in-between settings, and there's many variations to this. But ultimately, a proper technique is very important. And here's another thing that's so important. So did you know there's a thing, the only thing I guess, that all guitar legends have in common? And spoiler, it's not something you can buy. I'm sorry, because what I see all the time is folks stressing about their gear. Is what I have good enough? Do I need that new thing I just saw in that video? Will it make me play better? Will it make me sound better? Well, honestly, these days gear is almost never an excuse to suck. Affordable guitars are better than ever. Good amps or amp modelers or anything really. It's as affordable as it's ever been. So the gear won't make you better. Then what's the thing that all the pros and guitar legends have in common? Well, that thing is practice. Don't roll your eyes. It's impossible to overstate the importance of it. And the only thing you can say for sure that all the great guitarists have in common, they all practice their asses off. So I'll make this quick. I started playing this, the Zoom 505. I was playing this through a bass amp, a second-hand bass amp. I didn't care. Nobody told me it wasn't good enough. And I never saw videos of new gear popping in my feed. There wasn't even a feed. What a joy. So I didn't really care. What I did care about was how good I was sounding. I recorded myself on cassette, listened back. I practiced hard to get that Metallica solo down. I learned about music theory from books. They still exist. And I think that upgrading gear should come after all of that, because it's definitely nice to have good stuff, I love it, but the key factor is that it's only helpful if the work has been put in. Remember that, folks, it can save you a lot of money. And the next one at #3, well, this is a big one, because the biggest culprit of lacking accuracy in the picking hand is often a direct result of holding the pick the wrong way. So beginners, maybe because of their insecurity, often tend to hold it too loose, and some cramp up holding it too tight. It's all wrong and it's hurting your technique, your tone and your touch. A floppy pick doesn't work, and being too tense, it's rough. So, and although it is very personal, there are some general rules regarding how to correctly hold a pick. And this is a great starting point. Hold your hand super relaxed, like don't do anything. And then point the tip at a 90-degree offset from your thumb, and then close it or secure it with your index finger. The angle of the point can slightly vary, and the position of the index finger underneath the pick too, but this is the general guideline. Grip the pick like it's an extension of your hand, not too tight, cramping your hand, and not too loose, floppying it too much. It should feel quite solid. If you hit the strings loud, it shouldn't move anywhere. it should stay in that position. That's all there is to it. It should feel relaxed, because are you relaxed? Are you chill? Well, it's important. Because this might be a little bit of a controversial one, but hear me out. So are you doing this when you're playing? I've seen this so often, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but where a beginner starts playing and they're holding their breath and they start playing and they release and everything is so tensed up and stressed almost the entire time when they're playing. So you're teaching your body that playing guitar is in fact a highly stressful endeavor. It makes you feel exhausted. It makes you feel like practicing is super stressful. And this is very hard to shake off later in life, when getting on stage, for example, which is stressful enough by itself. So lose attention, loosen up the shoulders, breathe in calmly, also when playing, and make sure your belly is relaxed. And then, so just sometimes being aware of breathing and how tense your body is can be a game changer, really. All right, next up. So did you ever hurt your fingers when playing guitar? It's a part of the game, right? Well, what happens if beginner guitarists try the Gilmore bends? Often the finger hurts. It's hard to stay on pitch, if you reach the pitch at all. Anyway, it happened to me, it probably happened to you, and it's not necessary. Let me explain. So bending, sliding, vibrato, fretting notes, the kind of strings you're using, and mainly the gauge, has a huge effect on how hard it is and how physically demanding it is. And I think these days the most used gauge on Strats and Les Pauls, I guess, is 0.10s, but I really feel like it's too heavy when starting out, and a lighter gauge will be so much easier in many regards. And I've seen people stop playing because it hurts so much, and that is just so unnecessary. I mean, in general, playing guitar should not hurt. Of course, after practicing, some mild discomfort is fine. Sure, it's a part of the game, but if you're new to the guitar, actually, now I think of it, why not just always make it as easy for yourself as possible? I mean, life is hard enough already. And one thing I know for sure is that most people, the benefits of thicker gauge strings, like a cleaner attack, a tighter sound, I mean, it does not outweigh the negatives, especially in the beginner phase. So maybe if you've been playing 10 for a while, dial it back to 9s and see how it feels. You have to get used to it. You overbend. Oh. But yeah, it's fun. But yes, there's a but. This is where number 6 comes in. So the number 1 mistake beginners make is somehow making a tuned guitar sounding out of tune. And very often it has to do with how hard they press. Too hard, actually, often way too hard. And one downside is that you're basically micro-bending your strings a little bit sharp, so everything will sound out of tune. And this happens more quickly with the lighter gauge strings, so that's why you should pay attention to that. And it comes with many negative side effects. Your fingertips will hurt way quicker. And not only the tips, but also the joints, and it can lead to long-term injuries if you don't watch out. And your playing will sound so much more smooth if you don't press down too hard. So how to fix this? Well, you can do this. Just lay your finger gently on the fret you want to press down and gradually increase the force you use. And you have to press so lightly, it's just... Did you wonder why even your fingers hurt in the first place? It's just not necessary. Loosen up the touch. It will sound better. Anyway, all of this is really not important if you ignore the next bit. Because one thing that makes music sound like music, and without it not very much, is rhythm. And the weird thing is that we all have it, to some degree, most of us anyway. So why do we stop feeling it as soon as we pick up the guitar? And I get it, some things are just too fast and you shift your focus to finding the right notes and therefore you ignore the rhythm. And sure, there's a place for that in practice. But for so many beginners, getting the notes right is more important than playing them at the right time. And that mentality will destroy your sense of time if you don't fix it. So I would rather see everything played way slower, but in a nice steady groove, than getting closer to the desired speed, but half the notes are at random spots in the bar or in the groove. And if you play like this all the time, you're basically saying to yourself that it's okay to not have a groove going on in your playing. So you won't develop your timing or your groove or your rhythm at all. And you don't want that. So bob your head, stomp your foot, internalize the rhythm, use a metronome even. Actually, people use metronomes. It's a thing. We've been using that forever. So yeah, especially if you combine it with the next thing. Because this one is just as important. It's dynamics. So some notes can be quiet, some notes can be loud. There's a whole spectrum in between. So imagine music without dynamics. Listen to this, for example. So just like rhythm, the velocity at which we play a note makes all the difference. And when you're starting out, think of maybe 3 different levels, like quiet, normal and loud, for example, and use them. For example, play loud when playing Smells Like Teen Spirit. Play normal when you're playing whatever, Fade to Black by Metallica. And mix it up or play quiet when playing Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah. And as you go along, you'll find there's basically an indefinite range of dynamics all hidden in that picking hand. And it's gorgeous. Guitar playing is also about delivery, and dynamics is just a very big part of that. Next up. Oh. Guys. Please stop using tabs. It's dumb. So do this instead. From day one, you listen to your favorite songs and you just play the notes you hear on the guitar. Like, how hard can it be, right? Okay, so no. When you start out, nothing beats the joy of ripping through some of your favorite tracks and not getting bogged down by lame exercises your first guitar teacher made you repeat for 10 times before you could have some fun. I've been there. We've all been there. Have fun, use tabs. There's more than enough room to develop your ears. So learning songs is more accessible than ever before, like literally, and it can spark your joy. It can teach you many things, because learning songs is one of the most essential tools for beginners to get good. The only problem with so much information at your fingertips is that you have no guidance or a clear path. Because as useful as learning songs can be, learning them the wrong way can lead to all sorts of negative side effects. So before we go to one exercise that I recommend everyone doing, an exercise that incorporates almost all the things we talked about in this video, I want you to know that if you're looking for a clear path, where a clear roadmap of everything a beginner guitarist should know is laid out beautifully, well then I think you might enjoy my beginning guitar course, Learn, Practice, Play. With all the experience I have and with everything I've seen, I knew what was needed to get the most out of that beginner period of learning guitar. It's all based around the 4-step learning framework I created. It's an easy to follow and very fun guitar learning system that allows you to make massive and consistent progress. From picking to strumming, from chords to scales, everything the beginner should know so you can learn the guitar the right way. The roadmap you need, it's all in here. So for more information, check out learnpracticeplay.com. And now, let's get going with the last one. So, grabbing the guitar and just starting to play is one of the many benefits of the guitar. You don't need much, but doing this often results in a lack of technique. Especially self-taught players have a tendency to hack their way through most challenges, resulting in a lot of bad habits. And here's an exercise that I just love doing, and I advise everyone to try it out. It ticks all the boxes, and if you do it correctly, it will boost your technique massively. And not only that, it's a very musical exercise instead of some mindless wankery you sometimes see. This is just super cool. So let me play it slowly. So what we're basically doing is we're playing an arpeggio of all the diatonic chords found in C major. We're harmonizing the C major scale. C major 7th, D minor 7th, E minor 7th, F major 7th, G 7th, A minor 7th, B half diminished, and C major 7th. And then we're staying in one position. Our index finger is playing fret 7 all the time, middle 8, ring 9, pinky 10. Do this, except for the B diminished, half diminished chord where you do this. But other than that, we're sticking to that position. And this gives us so much benefit. And then we're just playing the arpeggios up and down again. Because we're learning to combine all the different variations of fingers we can get, from pinky to middle, from ring to index, from ring to pinky, etc. We see it all in this one exercise. So the fingers really get a sort of a masterclass in being independent. It's crazy. And the picking hand goes the same. There's outside picking, there's inside picking, there's jumping over it. So a lot of challenging movements you'll encounter everywhere in your playing career. So all in one exercise. It's just insane how well this exercise works, especially if you really focus on keeping the tempo tight. And one thing you can try as well to play with dynamics, so play that highest note a little bit louder. You know? Such a lovely exercise. And the goal is not speed necessarily. The goal is a good technique. So don't focus on getting too fast too quickly. Focus on don't move the fingers too much when playing this. No. That should be it. So on tempo it's like this. I need new strings. Intonation is off. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you watching. Tabs for this little exercise are available at my Patreon page, by the way. And of course, I also love to hear what you think. What are some of your best tips for beginners? What was a helpful tip that you saw when you started out? Please share it. Everyone loves to read it. I want to see it. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.